Good morning, youtube.org/what have I done with my life. The Leafs were in Vancouver last night to continue their Western road trip, and they weathered, as is most of the case most of the time on the road. You have to weather that initial storm in the first period when the home team comes out flying and are taking it to you. So yeah, the Canucks had the hop right off the bat, but the Leafs hung in there and battled back, and eventually the game really evened out. Everything at the end was very even. It was a very fast-paced game. The Canucks, although they are near the bottom of the league and they're rebuilding, they're very much kind of in the same mold as the Leafs in terms of team speed. So it was a very entertaining game that way. It was back and forth a lot of the time. Lots of speed, lots of skill on display. And in the second period, the Leafs did what they've been doing a lot lately, and that score goals in very quick succession. Just past the midpoint, Martyr made a nice little play in front of the Vancouver net to delay and then get a short pass over to Hainsey, who was beside the net, very, very down low, which was very bizarre to see. So he fed it over to Hainsey, and he buried it. And then about less than a minute, I think, after that, Riley pumped a wrist shot in on the short side that somehow snuck through. And the Leafs were all of a sudden out to a 2-0 lead in the second period. Things stayed that way until the third, but the Leafs let it get away. Early in the third, the Canucks scored goals a couple minutes apart maybe. And making matters even worse is that Josh Levo got the second goal on the power play to tie the game up. It's good for him, though, because I always wanted him to have more of a shot with the Leafs, because I always thought he looked like a hockey player. Like, he was a guy I wanted in the lineup more than some of the other guys over the last few years that I didn't understand why he wasn't given that shot. Now, the team they have now, they had to do something, and there's very hard to replace the guys they have in the lineup now the way they're going, but it's nice to see him get a shot in another city and score some goals. Too bad it's Vancouver, but anyways, they tied it up, and the rest of the period played out the same. Leafs had a late penalty kill to keep things alive and force overtime. In overtime, the 3-on-3 was entertaining, but in the end, the Canucks, Edler, the defenseman, put one past Fred that looked like it was a weaker goal on Freddie. You can't fault him the way he's played lately. Like, he was due for a kind of a weaker goal at some point. It's just too bad it was a game winner. It was kind of a not too far out, but it was a more far out shot that beat him under the glove. It just like a routine shot that he could see all the way. But it's always easier to go up and get a high shot than to bring the glove down and get those mid-range shots that are just above the pad and just below the glove. Those are one of the more trickier saves to make. So it's too bad he couldn't get it, but either way, they dragged a point out of the game, and they played well. It was a very entertaining game, like I said, very fast-paced. Marner and Kapanen and Riley especially, I thought they all looked really... They were all skating very well. They had the puck on a string. They were making plays. Those were the three guys that kind of stood out to me last night for sure. And then other than that, lineup notes, it was Ozhiganov was out on D, and Justin Holl came in for his first game in a while, I think. And he played on that third pairing. He didn't play a lot of minutes, obviously, but he kind of did what you wanted him to do. You didn't really notice him, to be honest, which is a good thing. He didn't do any things to make you go, whoa, that was fantastic. Or on the conversely, he didn't make any glaring blunders that cost the Leafs. So that's kind of what you want at this point when you've got two D-men out and you're bringing guys in for that third pairing. You just want them to be reliable, don't do anything too fancy. Just be reliable and don't screw up. So that was a good game for him. And then on the fourth line, the only change there was they took Gauthier out and put in Petan again. So it was Petan, Moore, and Ennis on the fourth line. And as usual, the fourth line has become like a revelation for the Leafs. And it's nice to have that kind of fourth guy that they can sub in here and there in case of injury, or in case somebody goes into a slump, they can try the next guy or whatever. But either way, the Leafs can roll four lines and not even worry about it anymore. It's that's a great weapon to have. So yeah, but like I said, too bad they couldn't get the win, but at least it was a bottom-feeding Western team that they gave the extra point to, and not somebody they're in a desperate race against in the playoff picture in the East. So I think they're in Edmonton next on Saturday, so hopefully they can beat them again and get another 2 points to add to the stack and continue this push. So until then, have a great rest of the week, and it's almost Friday.